Good morning. I'll call this third meeting of the House Education Committee to order. I'd like to welcome everyone, guests and members. Please be sure to silence your cell phones. Guests, if you wish to speak on one of the items on the agenda, there is a sign-up sheet in the back. And additional testimony will be at the chair's discretion depending on the time that we have permitted for the committee room. Does anyone have any members have any introductions or other comments they'd like to make at this time? Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Chair. I have a special guest with me here today, Dr. Mackenzie Leachman. She's a school psychologist with Fayette County Public Schools. I've known her for quite a few years, and she's truly outstanding at her work.
Glad to have you with us today. Any other members? Well, seeing none, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Ballman. Present. Representative Bojanowski.
I'm here.
Representative Brown. Representative Emily Callaway.
Present.
Representative Josh Callaway. Representative Decker. Representative Doan.
Present.
Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative Massaroni.
Present.
Representative McCool. Representative Rayburn. Representative Rawlings.
Here.
Representative Raymond.
Here.
Representative Riley. Here. Representative Timoney.
Here.
Representative Weber.
Here.
Representative Wilner.
Here.
Vice Chair Baker.
Here.
Vice Chair Truitt.
Here.
Chair Tipton.
Here. And I do believe we have a quorum for business. February is Career and Technical Education Month, and today we have a CTE Student Leadership Day here in Frankfort, and we're very pleased to have Madison Griffin with us today. She is the State Vice President for the Health Occupation Student Association and a student at the Trailblazer Academy in Harrodsburg. And Madison, I didn't even have to invite you. You knew right what to do. So please introduce yourself for the record. The microphone in front of you, make sure that green light is on, and pull the microphone close to you so everybody can hear you. And just introduce yourself for the record, and please proceed.
Hello, my name is Madison Griffin, and I am representing Kentucky HOSA as the Vice President. Good morning. It is an honor to be here in front of you all. I would like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Madison Griffin. I am a senior at Trailblazer Academy in Mercer County Senior High School, located in Harrodsburg. I'm heavily involved in a variety of clubs, sports, and extracurricular activities. However, my passion lies in this career and technical student organization, HOSA Future Health Professionals, which I have been involved in for the last 4 years of my high school career. Soon after learning the mission of HOSA, I knew this is where I needed to be. Although nervous, I decided to let this organization help me grow as an individual. For then, I ran as vice president for Kentucky HOSA. And wow, can I tell you how this organization has helped me grow and how many doors and opportunities it has opened. And it is rare in today's world to have a one-on-one experience with seasoned healthcare professionals and those that want to pursue the same pathway as me. But that is just what I have done. I have been fortunate enough to learn and be mentored by some of the best, and this I am thankful. I guess you could say I was born into healthcare. I am a fourth-generation healthcare professional. All of the women in my life have started their careers at our local community hospital. My great-grandmother was a nurse in labor and delivery, my grandmother in administration, and my mother is now the emergency department director. The hospital walls hold so much history for me. The hallways I walk now are once the hallways that my great-grandmother once did. The office my grandmother is in is the same area she would sleep as her mother would have to deliver a baby. There's not a spot in that building that my mother hasn't touched as she grew up here and began working at 18. When I enter the building, I feel a sense of home, and I know that is just where I needed to be. So enough about me. Let's talk about Carl Perkins. "Who is that?" is one of the comments I would receive when asking students what they knew about him. Although stunned every time, I see this as an opportunity to share my knowledge about Mr. Perkins. His legacy and accomplishments have played a significant role in my educational opportunities. Carl Perkins was born in 1912 in a rural area, Heinemann, Kentucky, where he became a teacher. Throughout his career, he noticed a lack of resources and necessities needed to obtain a successful education. In order to remedy this issue, he knew he would need more education himself. This drove him to continue his education at the University School of Law in search of a solution. After successful graduation, his goals were now foreseeable. Before deployment during World War II, he served as the Commonwealth's 31st District Attorney, soon becoming the state representative, serving as a chairman of the Committee on Education and Labor for 17 years. During this time, he exceeded his goals. Before Perkins' death in 1984, he paved the way for students to achieve success in their careers. Perkins has left a legacy of continuously growing programs, such as the Head Start program, the Federal Perkins Student Loan Program for the underprivileged, and the Perkins Act that allocates over $1 billion across the U.S. and is dedicated to allowing students access to career and technical education. His first-hand experience in a rural community laid a foundation for his success. His personal desires and needs facilitated his achievements. Without his dedication and ambition, I would not have had the opportunity to fulfill my educational goals as I have. I remember as a 13-year-old, we were asked by our guidance counselors, "What career path do you want to choose?" Now, if you can imagine being a 13-year-old and being asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" can be a little overwhelming. For most of us, we didn't even know what we were eating for lunch that day, let alone what we were going to do for the rest of our lives. Often students choose a career they have little knowledge about. They then discover after graduating that the last 4 years of school were focused on a career they had no desire to do. This is where the Carl Perkins Act allowed for trade school opportunities. At my school, Perkins allowed certifications such as phlebotomy, pharmacy tech, EKG tech, and Medicaid nursing assistant certification. I have been able to obtain my Medicaid nursing assistant certification alongside my peers and have been able to see students in various pathways strive for their goals and what they want to do. Not only has the health science program helped attain certifications and a head start on college credits, but it has allowed me to be fully involved in HOSA. With Perkins funding, it has allowed opportunities for other students across Kentucky and internationally. Students are able to venture into what they want to do as a future health professional. They are also able to strengthen their leadership and communication skills. Without being introduced to HOSA, I would have not been able to build my leadership skills or speak with members within this international organization. I also had the amazing experience to advocate for HOSA and Perkins Act in Washington, D.C., where I was able to show my gratitude of legislators' work towards Perkins funding. And because of the Perkins Act opening the path of HOSA, I am able to be here to speak with you about this incredible funding that I'm so thankful for. I stand here today being able to step back, see all the opportunities that have been opened for me that past students did not have without Perkins funding. So not only are the programs that Mr. Perkins has left behind inspirational, but they are the stories of past, present, and future lives. I appreciate your time and thank you for having me.
Well, Madison, thank you so much for your remarks, your presentation today. I think you are a perfect example of why we invest so much of our time and resources into career and technical education here in Kentucky. I just got one question, kind of like when you were 13. What are your plans post-high school, and what do you see as your career choice in the future?
Okay, so I have kind of figured it out since my 8th grade whenever I was having a panic attack because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. But I'm going to pursue my education at WKU and pursue the nursing program, and then where I will get my RN, BSN, and then my end goal is to be a nurse anesthetist. Whether I will get there and I will find my passion somewhere else is one thing, but I just know that I want to be in the medical field. I want to be able to help the people in my community and throughout Kentucky.
Well, thank you so much. If you see the gray hair on this committee, you understand many of us are very concerned about having quality healthcare professionals in the future. But thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Any other members have any comments? All right, thank you so much, Mass.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
All right. Now on to our agenda items, and our first item on the agenda today, and I will remind everyone that all presenters will be administered the oath. But our first presenter today is Representative Bobby McCool, House Concurrent Resolution 34, establishing the Lottery Trust Fund Task Force. So Representative McCool, if you'll come to the table, and anybody who may be with you, I would ask everyone to identify yourself for the record. Be sure your microphones are turned on, the green light is on, and have it pulled closely to you. Sometimes we have a difficulty. Please, everyone, identify yourself for the record.
Bobby McCool, State Representative, 97th District.
Zach Weston, intern.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Well, Representative McCool and Zach, you all proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you for this time, this opportunity to come before you today. This, as often we should do, is evaluate where we're at with this. That's what this is. It's just a task, sets up a task force to evaluate this trust fund, and will be designated by the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. So that's all it does. It just
Motion on
sets
the
up
bill.
a task force.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second on the bill. Do any members have any questions or comments? Zach, you have anything you want to add while you're here at the table today?
No, just this is a good idea to make sure we know what we're doing and what we're doing well and what we can improve on.
We're glad to have you here interning with Representative McCool. So if there are no questions or comments, Mariah, call the roll.
Representative Baker? Representative Ballman? Yes. Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown? Representative Emily Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway? Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massaroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn? No. Representative Rawlings?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Timoney?
Yes.
Representative Truitt?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Tipton.
Yes. House concurrent resolution passes with favorable expression. The same should pass on the House floor. Representative McCool, thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Zach, thank you for being here with us. Our next item on the agenda today is House Bill 85, an act relating to the Kentucky Education Excellence Scholarship. Representative William Lawrence. So, Representative Lawrence, would you and any presenters come to the table? Please identify yourselves for the record, and then I'll administer the oath.
Representative William Lawrence of the 70th District.
Aaron Clare, Vice President of Government Relations for Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Representative Lawrence, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us here today. Members of the committee, I get a little bit of deja vu as we come back to this bill. Want to thank you all for your continued support as we've moved this along the last couple of years. This bill has been talked about on several occasions. I know a lot of us went to Northern Kentucky earlier last year, and the resounding statements that were made from every single company that was there was, we need the trades industry to have an avenue for students to go there, to use their KEYS money, over and over again through every committee meeting I've sat through every meeting I've sat through with the Chamber of Commerce, through just every person I can think of. The KEYS bill has been something that has been brought up. since elected, and something that we've worked on since elected. And the trades industry is a growing industry. Every company you talk to needs skilled tradespeople with their welding, plumbing, HVAC, you name it. They're all in desperate need of this. And I think that we have Kia here with us. We began working with them, with Erin, and she has been a big asset to us as we've moved this forward. We've made the changes that was needed, and we've continued to work. So I'm going to give her just a second if she'd like to talk about the bill a little.
Sure.
Put her on the spot.
Thanks. So this is very similar to legislation that almost crossed the finish line last year. It's also very similar to House Bill 133, which you passed out of this committee last week. It is the same where a student will submit their receipts to us, and they will be reimbursed up to the earned keys award amount. So the schools that are kind of opening up to student eligibility, there are about 70 or so, but they are tailored to the top 5 workforce needed areas in Kentucky. So, we'll start it. We'll see how it goes, and we'll report back and let you know.
Representative Claire, I'm sorry, not Representative. I gave you a demotion this morning, Aaron. Aaron, do you all have a fiscal impact on how this will impact the scholarship, the dollars that are available in Keys?
Yes. So there's another part to this too that also includes other legislation for military families that may have earned some Keys money, but then were stationed elsewhere due to military orders. So that piece, I think we estimated the ceiling would be about $630,000, and again, the reimbursement piece just for the proprietary schools would be $100,000.
Okay. We do have some questions. Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, thank you. I was also reflecting on, didn't we just do this one? So the ears start blending together. But I did go back and pull the bill from last year, and the line is not eligible to participate in the federal Pell Grant program. What is the impact of having that in this year's bill?
That is just, so the target population for these institutions are non-Title IV participating. So Title IV of that Higher Education Act, the Federal Higher Education Act, is what defines eligibility for Pell Grant, federal student loans. So these are educational institutions that are outside of those federal guidelines.
Okay, and they're not, if I remember correct, I'm sorry, may I briefly follow up? If I remember correctly, I think we were talking last year about a proprietary organization that just hadn't done the process to become authorized for Pell Grants. They would not be eligible. If they could apply to be eligible for Pell Grants, they wouldn't be under this part of this bill, correct?
If they would be under the normal process
Right.
for Keys, right? It wouldn't be reimbursement.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next question's from Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative, do you believe that this would impact, or do you believe that this should impact flight school?
Do I believe it would or should?
Should.
Okay. Should it? I mean, that's something we could add to the bill as we move forward.
Well, every time you show up in committee with this this particular bill, I'm going to make reference to Pilot Pete. So thank you, Chairman.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Next question for Representative Raymond.
Thank you. I wanted just everyone to learn a little bit through this bill, and I've supported it for years. Thanks for bringing it. Will you talk about the costs of proprietary schools? I'd like to get a sense of how much having access to Keys money will expand access to these programs.
Thank you, Representative Raymond. So the school that was in my district before redistricting is the Kentucky Welding Institute. We've got students that are going through that program in about, I think the average, they've got a couple different programs, but the full, if you go through the entire program, is about a year and a half, and you're talking about $15,000. When you can earn $10,000 in Keys money, that's 75% roughly of your tuition that is paid. So it makes a big difference. And a lot of these students, actually, Representative Raymond, are coming out on their first year and making 6 figures. And they're staying within our district. They're going and working at power plants. They're traveling some, but they're staying at home. They're able to drive back or they're flying back at different aspects. But the average cost is around $15,000 to $20,000 for the entire program, for most of your technical schools where you could use this type of money. Would you concur with that?
The costs vary. You know, there's a wide range, but I mean, this would be beneficial regardless.
Thank you. Quick follow up. What's the average Keys Award? I know it varies wildly, but what's the average Keys Award in Kentucky?
$1,700 a year.
Thank you.
Do any other members have any additional questions or comments? If not, do I hear a motion on the bill? Motion, I have a motion and a second. Who was the second on that? Representative Timoney. We have no additional questions. Please, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Representative Ballman? Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
Yes.
Representative Emily Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway? Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massaroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn? Representative Rawlings?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Timoney?
Yes.
Representative Truitt?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Tipton.
In honor of my constituent Ethan Thompson, who on Facebook last week proudly shared his certificate completing the Kentucky Welding Institute, I vote yes. House Bill 85 passes with favorable expression. The same should pass on the House floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Representative Lawrence. The next item on the agenda is House Bill 319, bill relating to the teacher shortage. That is I will be making the presentation on that. I'm going to turn the duties over of the chair to Vice Chair Truitt.
All right, at this time, I want to ask that you identify yourself just for the record.
Representative James Tipton, House District 53.
All right, if you don't mind, will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
There's a committee substitute in the members' packets. The substitute was emailed to members with the agenda. Representative Tipton, do you mind to explain the proposed House substitute?
Sure, I'll be glad to. In the House substitute that was sent out, there was no language deleted from the original bill. There were two new sections that were added. If you have the House substitute in front of you, those changes are on pages 46 and 47 of the committee sub, and they added two sections to this legislation. Section 10 is a section that we actually had in statute during COVID for a temporary period of time. And if you recall, 2 weeks ago, we had our informational meeting, and just talking to teachers, I'm hearing a lot of discussion about burnout. Teachers are teaching their regular class load. There's a shortage of teachers. There's a shortage of substitutes. So a lot of times they are having to cover classes. They're having to forego their planning period. Now, what Section 10 of this committee sub would allow, it would allow a non-certified individual, a teacher's aide, a paraprofessional, to cover a class at the administrator, the principal's, the superintendent's discretion. That's all that Section 10 would do. It does have a time limit on it till June 30th, 2026. Put this in as a temporary provision to give us an opportunity to try to relieve some of the pressures on our classroom teachers. Section 11 would add an additional certification. This proposal was suggested to me, founded in Indiana law. This is very similar to what they've recently done in the state of Indiana. Just kind of to sum what this section would do, for an individual who has a degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree in a subject, say they've got a degree in math, chemistry, physics, whatever, and they have at least 4 years of experience, work experience in that field, they would be allowed to be given an interim certificate. Now, there are some conditions. One of the conditions is that a mentor teacher would have to be assigned to them to help them with the teaching pedagogy, how to teach. And they also have to follow the background check and other training materials they would have to be. Again, this is a temporary, we put a temporary time frame to June 30th, 2026. As you know, we heard in testimony that there are between 1,500 and 2,000 current teacher certified job openings at any one time. We've also been told that many of the school districts have had job openings that have been posted for the entire year that have not been filled. This would just simply be another tool that principals, superintendents could utilize on a short-term basis. At the end of 3 years, we can reevaluate this process.
All right, Representative Bojanowski.
Just briefly, so the classified staff person, would that person be able to be considered a teacher of record?
Define teacher of record for me.
So I heard you say that they could cover a class. So say if somebody's out and there's no substitute, they could cover a class. Could a classified person be put in a teaching position permanently or short term, so a teacher of record is like the teacher who is teaching that class.
The law, as the bill is written, it says classified staff employed by a school district as of the effective date may perform classroom instructional activities without direct supervision by certified staff. This is the same language we used during COVID. We just used the same language. I don't believe it's our intention that would be the case, Representative Bojanowski. This would just be a tool to help alleviate some of the pressure, as you well understand, teachers are facing.
Yes. In my building, we had 3 teachers out on Friday without subs, so I understand exactly. May I ask a follow-up? Okay, this is about the allowing a 1-year interim certificate. So we've already discussed my concern that the language just states has a bachelor's degree, and you did kind of clarify in your statement that it would be in the content area. So I'm hoping that the bachelor's degree would have to have a relationship to what the person would be teaching. I do want you to maybe explain why this person would not be subject to a collective bargaining agreement.
This language was taken from the Indiana statute, just as it was in the Indiana statute, that portion.
Okay, I'll learn a bit more. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we had a motion and a second to adopt the committee substitute. All in favor? All right. Are there any more questions about House Bill 319? Representative Rayburn.
Representative Tipton, I watched you on the TV last night. I wanted to follow up on the teacher compact, right? So it's
Sure.
my understanding 10 states need to pass it.
That's correct.
How many have? What's the timeline potentially for when we can see an impact here?
And if I could answer your question, Mr. Chair, if I could just briefly go over section by section what's actually in House Bill 319, I think that would be good.
Yes, please.
Section 1 deals with the interstate compact on teacher licensure. This was an effort that was initiated by the Department of Defense. The idea being that there are, military members who transfer from base to base, from state to state, who may have spouses who are licensed teachers in another state. If you had the situation occurring that was from a compact state going to a compact state, this would allow for that spouse who's a teacher, or for any other individual who's transferring, to get an equivalent license in the state they are moving to. It would also allow that when it came time to recertify that license, they would have to meet any state requirements of that state. As far as the timeline, this model language that's in the bill has been worked on by the Council for State Governments probably over the last 2 years, developing this model language. The timeline is, it states that in order for the compact to be functional, there would have to be at least 10 states to pass the language, and they have to pass subsequently identical language in each of their statutes. I believe that we may be the 11th state to introduce this legislation so far. So what would happen is when 10 states actually pass the compact would begin. Each state would have one member that would serve on a commission to oversee the work of the compact. The first thing they would do is they would review the statutory language of all 10 states or others that have passed this to ensure that they substantially meet the model language. And once that's satisfied, the compact work of the compact would begin on that. Any follow-up questions on that, or you look perplexed?
So, when do you think that might happen?
That depends on the other legislative bodies across the state, across the nation, on when they might. But since it has been introduced, I think there's a very good chance we could possibly see that happen this year.
Okay, thank you.
As far as that kind of Section 2 of the bill, and this was a question that I asked of our superintendents 2 weeks ago, and it would require KDE to develop a system whereby school districts, they're going to be required to perform exit interviews on staff as they leave, and it would provide a system for them to report that data to KDE. So we've been talking about why are we having this issue. Well, let's get some data. And this is the following questions they have to ask. The position that's vacated, how many years of service the employee has, what their position is in the district. It's asking if that employee's taking a similar position in another district, and the reason or reasons provided for leaving the district. That would just give us some data to look at this as we analyze this further. Section 3 of House Bill 319, and I put that famous language in here, if funds are available. Those of you who've been around here a while have seen that before. But it would require the Council on Post-Secondary Education to establish a marketing plan. If you may recall, we had the presenters at the table. Representative Jackson asked the question of the gentleman affiliated with the Galt House, do you feel like businesses would be willing to contribute to this? And he indicated that his business was. I've had some conversations with Kentucky Association of School Administrators. They believe they can. They have people who would contribute, and all this does is establish a fund. It could take state, federal, or private donations. I'm going to be very truthful. I think the odds of this something that would get a lot of state funding, not very likely, but it does establish a fund or that private entities that are interested in this, that feel like it's important, could contribute it, and it would allow CPE to use these funds to develop a marketing plan for high school students and post-secondary students to recruit them into the teaching profession. And they also provide a report to us. Section 4 is another one of those if funds are available. If you recall, during our discussion 2 weeks ago, we had some conversation about the KEP system. That is the database that's currently where job applications are posted. And truly, if you remember, the commissioner said it needs to be updated. This would provide a statewide job posting system whereby each individual district could post job openings, and it would allow candidates who are interested in applying for this job to apply at one spot. They put their application in, submit their resumes, all their references. Then if they wanted to send that to this district or that district, they could do it. Would simplify the process. Section number 5, amend some language in the teacher scholarship program. And one thing that I have discovered while we've been talking about these issues is a lot of people didn't even realize we had a teacher scholarship program in Kentucky. Now, it has had some funding for several years. There were a period of time where that program was not funded for 2 or 3 years. In the last biennium budget that we passed last year, we did appropriate $1 million in each year of the biennium toward this. Let me give you a little background on the teacher scholarship program. It is an agreement It's for students who have been accepted into an education preparatory program at a university or college. It would require them that for every semester they receive the scholarship, they are required to teach a semester. If they do not teach a semester, for every semester that they receive the scholarship, that scholarship converts to a loan, and they are subject to repaying that loan. One change we did make in the statute, I believe it had a maximum interest rate of 12%, and I changed that to 8%. For teachers who are entering high need areas, career and tech education, it would for every they would be required to teach a semester for every 2 semesters they received a scholarship. So that's a little background on how that teacher scholarship program works. The changes that we made, there was some statutory language that put a limitation on how much that a recipient could receive. We understand the increased cost of attending college and school, so we took those caps out, and there is a provision in here. The language will now basically say that the authority, which is KIA, along with KDE and CPE, would determine what these maximum awards are based on the amount of funds that are available. So that is a significant difference. I would hope and encourage you to, I feel like this is an underutilized program that people aren't aware of. So I would hope when we come back in 2024, this might be an area we could increase some funding for this to help these teachers finish up and be able to finish up their teaching credentials. Section number 6 talks about alternative teacher certification routes. It would add new language, just clarifying that right now, if a certification option requires employment prior to certification, EPSB must update their regulations and processes to allow the candidate to obtain an eligible for hire letter. This is something that both Commissioner Glass, President Thompson, the folks thought was a very positive change that would make it easier for people going through the alternative certification route. Section 7, it just amends the statute to incorporate this newly created statewide job posting, just conforms some language that we talked about in that. Section 8 is non-codified language. And I know we have some freshmen. Non-codified language means it carries the force of law, but it's not in our statute, just for reference. As funds are available, it would direct the Kentucky Department of Education to expand the Go Teach Kentucky Ambassador Program to every district in the state by September 15th, 2023. And for any district that has over 30,000 students, there must be 2 ambassadors for that district. This is just a program encouraging our high school students to be interested and participate in potentially being a teacher and providing them that support. Section 9 is another piece of non-codified language. We currently have 9 options for alternative certification. Most of these people who go through an alternative option utilize option 6. For example, from 2016 to 21, we have an option 7 that had 1 person complete option 7 over that 5-year period. There seems to be a lot of duplication, a lot of misunderstanding. This section would direct EPSB, Educational Licensure, to review all of the alternative certifications, look for duplications, find ways to simplify things, and do we really need 9 different options, and come back to us with recommendations. Sections 10 and 11 are the 2 sections I referred to that are in the committee sub. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make this comment. House Bill 319 is not going to solve our problem. We're going to continue to have a problem with this issue, I think, for many years to come. We didn't just start this problem. This has been building up for many years. We've been seeing fewer and fewer people becoming education majors, entering the teacher preparation program. That's a trend we've been seeing for many years. It's not just in Kentucky. This is happening all across the Southeast, all across the country. But I do believe that House Bill 319 is a good first step to take some positive actions that will remove some of the burden, remove some of the regulation, remove some of the red tape, and make it easier and more conducive for individuals to consider going into the teaching profession and to keep them in the teaching profession. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to entertain any questions from the members.
All right, thank you, Representative Tipton. First off, like I agree with you 100%. May not solve the problem, but I think this will help. And I appreciate the hard work that you've put into this bill. I know this has been years of work, so I appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and now get started with questions. Looks like Representative Rollins has a question.
Thank you, Representative Tipton. Appreciate the positive points in the bill, but got some concern on whether this bill will grow and expand the Department of Education. And would you elaborate on the costs to the taxpayers? And the funding you mentioned, funds are available. Would you
Sure.
elaborate on that?
Absolutely. The portion of the bill that deals with expanding the Go Teach Kentucky Ambassador Program is an expense of $250,000. The portion of the bill that deals with developing the statewide application model would be a first-time expense of about $500,000. That's about half of that to develop the program and about half of that to maintain that. So then it would be a continuing appropriation of about $250,000 going forward after that. And those are really the only two items that really addressed a funding component. I will point out, I want you to be aware on the interstate compact, that compact will function. The members in that compact will be responsible for paying the cost of that, so there would be a fee associated with each member state. I will also point out that should that become burdensome or get out of line, there is a provision that any state can withdraw from the compact with legislation, and it takes 6 months after that's passed to withdraw.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we got another question from Representative Doan.
Chair, I was going to ask a question on the interstate compact and that funding mechanism, and you answered it there at the last bit.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next is Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, thank you for all your hard work on this. There's a lot of really, really good things here. And you're addressing a lot of the needs. One of the concerns, and this is just a comment, one of the concerns that I have is when we have classified staff covering classes for people who are paid at a certified rate. I'm just making a comment. I know one of the challenging things for you is to roll this out now because we need to do this now, but there are going to be some questions that we're going to need to talk budgetarily next year. So I applaud you for your effort on this.
I understand. I would prefer we not be in this situation, but this is where we are, and this is it. That was just one possible avenue for a solution to help with that situation.
Okay, Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the bill and for the explanation. My first question, if I get to ask two, is about the compact portion of this. I'm a big fan of compacts and increasing interstate portability. We've seen that with some mental health and some health bills, and it's worked out very well. I did have some teachers concerned about some of the provisions in the compact, and I know with other compacts, the teachers have to, or the individual members of the profession would have to opt in to the compact. So if you're a teacher in Kentucky, you're not necessarily bound by the rules of the compact. Is that correct?
If you're a current resident of Kentucky and you stay in Kentucky, you're bound by our current licensure provisions. If you move to another state that's a compact member, that would be up to you or not whether you wanted to pursue a license in that state.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarification. My other question has to do with one of the new provisions, and Rep. Bojanowski brought up the up to 10% would not be subject to collective bargaining agreement. This is on the last page of the bill, and your response to that was this came out of Indiana statute. And I wonder if maybe this doesn't fit so well with Kentucky statute, and if you might be open on the House floor to removing that particular provision about exempting some employees from collective bargaining.
I'd be more than happy to have that conversation. I'm not going to guarantee anything at this time. I would think another more probable avenue is knowing our friends in the Senate. I just got this feeling they're going to want to change some things anyway. So that might be a more proper venue to see if that's something that the Senate might have a substitute on that we could talk about.
Thank you, and thanks for your work on the bill.
All right, Representative Jackson.
Just a couple of comments. As others have said, Chairman Tipton, thank you for your hard work on this situation. The easy thing to do is do nothing and everybody sit around and complain about the situation we're in. So, yeah, we may have to revisit this in a year, 2 years, whatever, and make some adjustments, but at least this is a starting point. So thank you for your hard work on this bill, and this gives us opportunity to get teachers into the system. I think there is a bill working right now, hopefully that's going to be filed, that has to do with retaining teachers and dealing with discipline in the classroom. And I'm excited about that opportunity as well. We need to do everything we can to get new teachers into the system, but we also need to take care of the ones that we already have and deal with the discipline situations that are occurring in our schools today. So maybe a combination of these two things is going to make teaching an attractive profession again. But again, I appreciate what you've done with this bill and look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Like you, I'm looking forward to seeing that legislation come forward this week.
All right, looks like that's all the questions. So if that's all the questions, I will ask for a motion on. Thank you. Got a motion, second? All right. Mariah, call the roll.
Representative Baker? Representative Ballman? Yes. Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
Yes.
Representative Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway? Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massaroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Pass for today. Thank you.
Representative Rawlings?
I would like to pass for today also.
Representative Raymond?
Yes, may I explain my vote? I vote
Yes.
yes. I vote yes today. When I heard this called an omnibus teacher shortage bill, which I don't think is your language, and you probably didn't like to hear that, I expected a more robust bill that possibly addressed salaries, how we increase the pipeline, such as expanded scholarships or loan forgiveness for teaching students, maybe incentives for career changers. I know in the legislature we say there's always next year, but our kids are only in first grade once, second grade once, third grade once. So I think we need to be very urgent in addressing this. And then I hate to see that phrase, if funds are available, when we have a record budget surplus, because what it really means is if this is a priority for the legislature. Thank you.
Representative Riley? Representative Timoney?
Yes.
Representative Truitt?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Tipton?
Yes.
All right, looks like House Bill 319 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass with the committee substitute attached thereto. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Thank you.